To her young mind, she couldn't have been more than 9 on that day. It seemed like a million bottles of all shapes and sizes stared back at her from inside the cleaning cupboard. Some of them were still entirely full, most of them were covered in something sticky. No one had taught her how to clean or which products to use for which purpose, but in the end she settled on an all-purpose bathroom cleaner and went to find the mop. In later years, she would recall the event, and that familiar feeling of fear would return. A terror at the idea of not having cleaned thoroughly enough, a sense that no amount of scrubbing or washing would ever really rid her of the filth, and that no matter what she did, it would always cling to her. But nonetheless, she found a mop and a bucket, poured some hot water, and, as best she could, set out to clean up the old woman's puke from the floor. It wasn't the last time she would have to choose between dozens of previously unused cleaning products. It wasn't the last time she had to clean up after the old woman. It wasn't the last of anything. It was, in fact, the first of many trials and tribulations. This became the theme of her life, being woefully unprepared for the challenges ahead, no matter how small, and attempting to face them to the best of her abilities. It was always the same. Life would throw a new difficulty at her, and she would painstakingly adjust to it over time with great difficulty and a lot of effort. And just as she had adjusted to the new hardship, the new stress in her life, something else would come along to make things just a little more difficult than she was, at the time, capable of handling. And every time she felt just a little bit older and just a little bit more tired, and her soul ached with the years, with having been old and tired since early childhood. And between the never-ending fits of growing up, growing old, and growing tired, she had terrible, painful moments of weakness. And in these moments of weakness, some small part of her that was and forever will be, despite everything, still a child, would scream and cry out for the attention and love that it desperately needed. And no one would come, not once. And the pain would be worse each time, because each time she would remember the accumulated hurt from all those times that no one came. And she would cry and hurt and scream and hate. And the hurt would not go away, even after the tears had finally stopped. And nothing around her changed. The chaos and the never-ending responsibilities just piled on and kept coming and grew the heavier to carry. And the older she was, the more she felt that she desperately wanted to be treated as a child, not to be scolded and ordered about, but to have someone there to take care of the difficult things, the unpleasant things, the things that made her feel tired and depressed. And the world grew bleak and dim. There was no big moment, no huge shift, no dramatic scene. It happened gradually, the change. It happened slowly, bit by bit, and it was, when all was said and done, perfectly set in stone. As the years went by and her mind and body grew ever more tired and ever more adjusted to the difficulties, the child and the adult in herself came closer and closer, and did not merge, but each took up their respective roles. The adult made room for the child to be comfortable, somewhere in her own mind, in a place where she could feel safe. She set up a bed and a nightlight, and let the child rest while she went on to do the difficult things, the unpleasant things, the things she did not want the child to have to deal with. And she was, for better or worse, through all the chaos and pain, finally able to move forward. Part of her became the adult that she had so desperately needed to be, and the other part, the part that still needed someone, anyone, was, slowly but surely, put to sleep. And she lived her life and faced her difficulties, one by one, day by day. And every now and then, the child would wake just for a moment and reach out to grab hold of anyone nearby. And the adult would sigh and lovingly hold her own hand and be her own caretaker until the child subsided and went back to sleep. And she would return to her post as the adult and know that it would never get easier or more pleasant, but also that the part of her that couldn't deal with it, that wasn't capable of handling the pressure, would be all right. Subsequently, so would she. And every night, after a long and difficult day, she would enter the room she had built for the child, the comfortable room, the cozy room, and lay down next to herself and fall asleep in the dim light as she and the child almost, ever so almost, became one. Thank you for listening and watching. All links and references are in the description below.